Buddy, it's your boy Kreative. Go ahead, say it with me. We are back at it again to do what? To create something great. Now, today I'm super excited what I have planned for y'all today. We're going to be going over step by step on how to set up Claude Code, how to use it, what are some of the best practices, and how to make sure that you're getting the most out of this AI junior dev, I like to call it. My name is Kreative, and here at Creative Coder, our aim is to be able to create different AI projects, right? Using Claude Code, being able to really get into the weeds of machine learning and being able to understand how different algo projects work, right? So today we're going to be going over Claude Code and how to really understand to use it. So what is Claude Code and who is it for, right? So Claude Code is for builders, it's for AI coders, it's for machine learning enthusiasts, right? It's for algorithmic traders. So anybody that wants to understand or being able to get or to become a programmer, excuse me, they're going to be using Claude Code in order to do it, right? So why does it matter for us to be able to use Claude Code? Right, because Claude Code is a CLI AI agent that reads repos. And we're going to get into some of these words so we can actually understand it, but I just want to go through a brief overview. Then I'm going to jump over to ChatGPT so we can get into some of these like catch terms here so we can truly understand it. Right, so it's a CLI AI agent that reads repos. Repos is just your project files. It writes files for us, right? It allows the Claude Code can run commands. It's a real dev tool. It's not a toy, right? So before we get into the sprint, let's just understand the CLI portion of Claude Code. So let me just make this a bit bigger. Can you explain what is a CLI? Like I'm 12 and ensure not to be demeaning or talk down to us. Speak as if you're the professor and we're the student attempting to understand this term. Keep your responses under 228 total tokens for the duration of this message. All right. So, absolutely. So, think of CLI or command line interface like a conversation you're having with your computer. Instead of using text, using text instead of a mouse or buttons, you type instructions called commands, and the computers follow them. For example, so instead of clicking open a folder, you might type CD documents, and the CD gets us to where the project file is, right? And it gets us to the path documents to change the directory to your documents folder. CLIs are super powerful because you can do complex tasks quickly and automated repeat work and control your computers in ways regular visual interfaces can't. So basically, your computer is listening and responding to the typed instructions. So CLI, right? If we can just write here, so CLI equals typed instructions, right? And we all know AI agent, just so we can get like a super baby understanding of it, explain AI agents and how they use CLIs. So, an AI agent is a digital helper or robot that can think, make decisions, and act to achieve a goal. It can read the data, analyze it, and then take action, sometimes on its own, sometimes with guidance, right? And I like to be able to use it with guidance. On its own, yes, it can work. I'm not going to hold you, but you have to be able to control for hallucination. What is hallucination? Hallucination is when the AI makes up items that is not true. All right. So the CLI comes in a way to communicate with the AI agent instead of clicking buttons in an app. You type in instructions in a terminal. We tell the agent what to do, like analyze this file, run this task, right? So the CLI allows us to be able to communicate with the AI agent, right? And then the agent reads the instructions, executes them, and then gives text back as the output. So the CLI is the agent's control panel for humans who like precise, fast interaction. All right, so I like this right here. So AI agent, let me just zoom that out and make this a little better so we can read this on our whiteboard here. All right, my fault, my fault. Here we go. So AI agent, let me just make that a little bit bigger. There we go. AI agents is like a digital helper or robot that can think, make decisions to achieve a goal. It can read data, analyze it, and take action sometimes on its own or with guidance, right? But if it's on its own, want to control, want to control for hallucinations. If it's on its own. All right. And we all know we're going to write files, run commands, real toy. So, what we're going to do, let me just bring this down. My fault. I thought this was going to work for me. Hey, this is just part of the process, fam. All right. Let me just bring this down a bit. All right, so Claude Code is an AI coding assistant that lives in our terminal, right? So what it does, it reads our entire project file so it can understand the project structure. It can write and edit files so it can implement features or fix bugs. It can run commands to execute tasks directly in our terminal or from the terminal, excuse me. Refactor code intelligently. So it reorganizes code safely and then it generates tests or documentations. It automates repetitive tasks, right? So here's a little breakdown that I've done to be able to really understand the differences between these. All right, here we go. Between these different AI, can you see this? Yes, you can. Between these different AI coding agents, right? So Claude Code is going to have the full repo context or full project context. It is CLI native. So CLI is typed instructions, right? So whenever you see CLI, it's a way for us to be able to communicate with the AI with typed instructions. It can write files. It can debug our files and it can refactor our files or reorganize. So Claude Code can do all of this for us. That's why I love using Claude Code. If you're thinking about using ChatGPT, yeah, it can do this, but you're going to need to make sure you control for hallucinations. You're going to need to make sure you honestly review each and every. I don't want to say line by line, but like make sure you do a cursory review of the files that are outputted because sometimes not only does it hallucinate, but it can mess up your entire code, right? So that's why I don't tend to use ChatGPT too much when it comes to actually writing code. To explain it, sure, it's phenomenal at that, but being able to write code, not really too much, right? And GitHub Copilot, this is one of these things that it's still on its development path, right? These are still a lot of things that it needs to improve upon. So that's why I don't use Copilot at all. What we're going to be using is using Claude Code and then ChatGPT. So why this matters, right? Because it's a real developable tool, right? It doesn't autocomplete. And autocomplete is what GitHub and sometimes ChatGPT, but more so GitHub does, right? It saves time on repetitive tasks and it works on scale for a large code bases. So supervised AI, we control the output. So what we're going to do is come over to our API documents, right? So if you want the API documents, let me go ahead and drop it in the chat for y'all. Give me a second. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Let's go ahead and get these vibes. My fault. Okay. We're good. Is it playing? I think it is. It shouldn't be too loud. Okay. Beautiful. All right, it's playing. So let me let that go. What I'm doing is I'm dropping. All right, here's the API doc so you can follow with me too. So what we're going to be doing is going by this line by line to understand how to install Claude Code and then how to make sure we're getting some of the best practices from Claude Code, right? And being able to go through and create some projects for us, right? So what I'm going to do is let's go over to Cursor. And Cursor is going to be our code editor that we're going to be using in order to install and bring in Claude Code. Now, there's two ways that we can do this, right? As a matter of fact, let me just do it this way. We're going to open up a project, but this is going to be a new project. So I'm just going to put Claude Masterclass. Then we're going to open up the project. Now, Claude Code runs in a terminal, right? So, oh, look at that. There was a new update. Let's read this update real quick. So that's Cursor's AI agent. We're not going to be using that. Cursor agent in your terminal. Same commands, any environment. Integrate with your existing setup, workflow, and whatever projects. Parallel agents run multiple agents at once without leaving command lines. Use cursor agent and scripts automation and trigger reviews. Now, everybody wants to have their own version of CLI, right? CLI typed instructions so you can be able to commute with your AI, right? Remember, let's go back. What is CLI? Typed instructions, right? So whenever I say CLI, it's typed instructions. So I want you to be able to ingrain that. So Cursor is very good at being able to have a code editor, right? And I love them because I started with Visual Studios, and time and time maybe I'll go back to them, right? But like normally I've switched over 100% to being able to use Cursor, right? Because it's a lot more aesthetically pleasing. Number one. Number two, their features is a lot more easier to be able to use with different AI agents or different CLI agents, right? Well, you know, one thing that we didn't go over that we need to, MCP. So can you explain what is MCP? So MCP stands for multi-component platform. It is a tech context, which can mean other things in different fields. So think of it like a hub where many separate parts work together to do bigger things, smarter tasks. In AI or software, each component does a specific job, like handles data. Another runs AI model. Another manages communication. The platform connects all pieces so that we can share information and work together efficiently. So imagine it like a school. Each classroom is a component and has a subject, but the principal, the MCP, coordinates everything so the whole school can run smoothly. All right. Now, is Claude Code and CLI or MCP? Claude Code is primarily a CLI tool, right? It is not an MCP. So Claude CLI, we typed instructions, right? MCP, Claude Code isn't an MCP tool because it's not a platform connecting multiple components or agents. It is a single AI assistant running in your terminal. So think of it like this. Claude Code is your AI helper in chat with terminal. It is not a full school coordinating any many classrooms, right? So the CLI is going to be the typed instructions, the instructions that we're giving to the AI, and the AI is going to be using the MCPs, right, in order to use different items, whether it's being able to organize data, being able to run different models, being able to bring in machine learning, right? Does that make sense? If you want me to break it down a little bit more, we can. So, all right, let's go back to Cursor. And again, they have their own CLI. I'm not going to be using it. Maybe I can, okay, let me just install it. And then maybe we'll use it to be able to compare. But we're going to stay on task because we're going to be using Claude Code. So, all right, we got your CLI. Maybe I'll use it later. Maybe I won't. But this will be cool to be able to compare. I'll just leave that window open for now. All right, so here's our terminal, and the terminal is where we're going to be running Claude Code, right? So this is a brand new terminal where we don't have a Conda environment open. How do you know? Because we're in base, so no Conda environment. This is a brand new terminal with nothing ran in it yet. So what we're going to be doing, let's go back to our API docs. So we're going to click on get started. Do you want to, let's just go through this real quick. Learn about Claude Code's Anthropic's agentic coding tool that lives in your terminal. Let me just make this a bit bigger, yeah? All right, beautiful. Get started in 30 seconds. We already have a subscription. So in order to use Claude Code pricing. No. Maybe I should just click this. There we go. All right, this is not what I want. Pricing. Here we go. All right, it's not like we have the people waiting. Here we go. So it talks about being able to break down the different models. So Claude Code subscription. Claude Code different subscriptions. No, subscriptions types. Goodness gracious. Here we go. This is what I wanted. So, in order to use Claude Code, right, you need to be able to have a Claude plan. You really can't use it with the free plan. The reason I'm going to say that is because it's going to be super, super limited with what you can do, right? You can only use the free plan with like their basic web interface, being able to go to Claude.ai, and that's how you're going to use their free plan. Anything from Pro up, that's where you can take advantage of using Claude Code. Now, a little caveat, right? If you have the Pro plan, the only thing is that sessions, and we're going to talk about how to effectively manage sessions. With the Pro plan, I think you can get like maybe 10 sessions a week, maybe 5, maybe, right? So you're going to be pushing it with the, or limited with the amount of sessions that you're going to use. Like for those users that frequently use Claude Code on different type of projects, you're going to need to start with their max plan or up, right? Anything, I mean, Pro definitely works, so you can use Pro. That's not a problem at all. But just know that the usage is going to be a bit limited. Yeah. So let's just look at it. Does the Pro plan have any usage limits? Yes, during peak hours, the Pro plan offers at least 5 times usage than per session compared to our free plan. The number of messages can be sent vary based on the message length, including the type length of file, attachments, or the current conversational model features you use. Your session, excuse me, is based off the usage limit and it resets every 5 hours. So, in addition to manage capacity to ensure fair access to all users, we may limit. This is what the fuck I really hate. I'm not going to hold you. Because it used to be a lot better with being able to have a max plan and not really run into limits. And I'm going to show y'all my limits and like how I manage it effectively. But nonetheless, let's keep going. But this right here, we may limit your session usage in other ways, such as weekly or monthly caps, which is bullshit. Feature usage at our discretion. So practically, who does these? What does these limits mean? So if your conversation is a relatively short 200 English sentences, but who's going to count sentences, right? Assuming your sentences are around 15 to 20 words, using less compute intensive models, you can expect to send around 45 messages every 5 hours, right? So often more depending on the Claude current capacity. Why do we have limits? So it breaks it down step by step. So I say this to say is that I'm not going to hold you. I started here. I just found myself running into, oh, damn, I had to wait till my sessions reset. I had to wait till my sessions reset. So I just went over and went to the max plan. And I don't have any problems. I'm not going to hold you, but there are some opportunities. I'm like, damn, bro, like you can really make this a lot better. It's even to a point I'm even go to the Max Pro, but we'll see where we go. So we understand what a CLI is. We understand that we need a Claude Code subscription in order to use it from the Pro, the Max, or the Teams. You can start with Pro, but I just want to let you know that you're just going to be limited with the amount of sessions depending on what you're using, right? The Max is probably where everybody's at, and you can have the Max X being able to add more to it. So we're going to be using the Mac OS. It does work for Linux or Windows install as well. So I'm using the Mac OS. So what I'm going to be doing is grabbing this curl command right here. So I'm going to copy it, and then we're going to go back. Hold on. Here we go. Let's go back to our cursor. Then I'm going to paste it. Now what we should do is bring in Claude Code, setting up Claude Code, installing Claude Code native with the latest build, setting up the launcher. All right, perfect. So Claude Code has been installed, right? So now there's a couple of ways in order to run Claude Code. So let's go back to our docs. And this is what I do whenever I'm using something new, right? You go to the API docs and you go through it step by step because this is literally the instructions on how to use it and how to get the most from it, right? So in order to start Claude Code, all we have to do is go ahead and type Claude. But again, there's a couple of different ways I like to start it. But again, we're going to just start here. And I'm going to show you the different ways why I like to start it a little bit different. So Claude Code is installed. Perfect. So we're going to hit clear and just put Claude. Hold on. Beautiful. Now we just have to set it up. So it's going to be dark mode. I like dark mode. I already have a subscription, so I just need to sign in real quick. So what it's going to do is Claude with a subscription. So we're just going to hit yes. It's going to ask me to sign in. Give me a second. Let's just sign in. And what I need to do is just make sure that no security information is shared throughout this. So y'all just sit over here. Oh, this is different. Y'all see this? Hold on. Every time they change this, now they got the little Claude Code with the C. I guess it's a little planet different. All right, so let me go get it logged in. So let's log in real quick. So what's going to happen is that this window is going to pop up, right? And it's going to ask you to log in. So what I'm going to do is I just need to log in real quick. So just give me a second. 2 seconds, 2 seconds. And remember, this is information you don't share. So it's going to send you a link. Once you have the link, now it's going to allow you to give me a second. Beautiful. Sign into Claude Code. Then we're going to copy, push a little verification. Then we're going to authorize. So I want to show y'all, but it's security information. But one thing, how you know if you're logged in, then it's going to say login successful. I want to show you, but it's showing my email. So I'm not going to share my personal email. All right, beautiful. Now it's authorizing. Now, one thing I do love about it, let me go back to here. We're logged in. And what you're going to see as soon as you get a success, right? What we're going to do, let's build something great. I do love that. That's why I just kind of like to keep that up from time to time, because that gets you in the right frame of mind, right? So let's go ahead and build something great. All right, we're all set up to use Claude Code. Beautiful. So let's go back to Cursor. I just want to make sure it doesn't share, because there was just a recent update that, okay, use the recommended, hold on. Okay. Now this part, for optimal coding experience, enable the recommended settings for your terminal. So we're going to use the recommended settings. All right, give me a second. I just want to make sure it doesn't share anything. All right, the next thing it's going to say is you're going to trust this folder. Yes, we are. All right, once you have trusted this folder, this is what you're going to see within Claude Code. Now, everybody's makeup is going to be different. It's just going to have your information here, right? What I had to make sure was that it wasn't sharing any personal information. So if you're installing this yourself and you've been following the steps, you're going to see maybe your email here, right? But what we've done is we went through being able to go through Claude Code. Now we're actually going to go through it step by step and just figure out what can we use Claude Code for, right? One thing I want to do before we even jump into this is being able to go through a few of these plugins, right? So what we're going to do is just hit the backslash and then we're going to put plugins. So plugins are a different way to be able to enhance your experience with using Claude Code. And there are several different plugins that I like to use on a consistent basis. So what I want to do is I just want to break down how the plugins work and how we're going to be using it. So what we're going to do real quick, let's just jump back over to ChatGPT. And then what I'm going to say is, how do the plugins for Claude Code work? And what do you know about them? Keep your responses under 328 total tokens for output response unless we tell you differently. So first, Claude Code plugins usually refer to the integrations built on top of Anthropic's Claude models, not the universal plugin marketplace like old school ChatGPT. Now, the fact that they're saying old school ChatGPT, I think is hilarious, fam. But let's keep going. Right. So Claude Code works through tool calling. And those tool callings are enabled through function calling. Right. Claude can call structured tools defined by the developer. You can define a tool schema in a JSON. You can decide, excuse me, Claude decides when to call it, then your backend executes it, and then Claude continue with this with the work, right? And that is with the tool calling. Here's with MC. Okay, this is not really explaining what I want. Okay, we are referring to the plugin marketplace that is in Claude Code. So we just seen a little bit of hallucination. That's all right. That tends to happen that time, right? So it is a curated catalog of pre-built MCP servers slash tools that you can install into Claude Code. Instead of writing your own integration, it enables an existing one. So an example would be GitHub access. Another example would be database connectors. Another example would be web browse tools, right? File sharing enhancements, dev tools. So each plugin is basically an MCP server, which defines missions and that Claude can call through each tool, right? So let's go back over to Claude. And then there's a couple of plugins that I like to use, right? So the first one that we're going to search for, hold on, at the most opportune time. I feel like it's like 7 o'clock at night. I don't know if y'all can hear that, but if y'all do, my fault. I didn't think this. Hold on, bruv. This is crazy. So I'm just going to type the plugin. And if y'all can hear that, my fault. Hold on. All right. Here we go. Let me just make sure. All right, beautiful. So I can't even go down. Give me a second. We're going to figure this out, fam. All right. This is what I need to do. I just need to switch this. You come here. So when I hit down, it's not tripping, fam. All right, beautiful. So let's find the plugin. My fault. Y'all be okay. The plugin that I want to go over is okay. Matter of fact, I already installed it, so I need to go. Y'all just bear with me. Installed. Here we go. So here is the plugin and that I want to go over with y'all. So the first one is going to be Superpower. Right? So this plugin is already installed. So hold on. So just for the purposes of this, I'm just going to uninstall it. And then I want to come back here. I'm going to type plugins. Then I'm going to put Superpower. Beautiful. Then I'm going to hit enter. Come back to this plugin. So Superpower teaches Claude brainstorming and sub-agent driven development with built-in code review, systematic debugging, and red-green TTD, test-driven development. Additionally, it teaches Claude how to author and test new skills. Make sure you trust the plugin before installing it or updating or using it. Anthropic does not control what the MCP server does. So I'm going to do, we're going to install it for our scope, and then Superpower has been installed. So what I want to do is, can you explain what are the different plugins that you have access to? For, oh, they got to be able to see this. And y'all, my fault, bruv. I'm not going to hold you. I am still a super noob when it comes to being able to create content. So there's going to be a couple things that I may get wrong, a couple of blunders that I may have, right? But y'all just stick with me, and I promise it is going to be well worth it, right? All right, let's keep going. So can you explain the different plugins that we have access to? And for the duration of this sprint, make sure, and you're going to notice I'm doing this a lot. Reason being so is because this Opus model is the latest model that Claude has dropped. So with being able to use any Opus, Opus, Tomato at that point, right? With being able to use any of those models, you want to make sure that you control for tokens, because that's how what's going to eat into your sessions, right? And I know I told you I was going to let y'all see my sessions. So right now, make sure no security. All right, so right now, here's the session, right? Now it's about to reset. Let me just have it reset. Okay, so it's about to reset, and every 5 hours, what you're going to see is this session is going to show you how much you have accumulated. If you're using just the Opus model, it's going to eat this up, right? So you're maybe out of the 5 hours, you maybe get an hour, maybe 2 hours max of usage. So you want to make sure that you're bouncing back and forth between models, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So no worries. So all models is going to be from the Opus, Haiku, and then a Sonnet model. So this resets for me. Everybody is different, right? And this is so stupid, so stupid. The way that they've done this is so stupid, but that's a story for another day. All models are going to be reflected here. Now everybody is going to have their different reset, right? So currently, mine's resets every Thursday. I just call it 8 a.m. And then for the Sonnet, every Thursday at 1 p.m., right? Let's see if we can catch this reset so you can see. All right, bet. So you see here that I have 0 use because I haven't sent a message yet, right? So what's going to happen is that once we send a first message, it's going to let us know, all right, this is how much you have left, and this is going to be for the 5 hours. So you're going to see, and I'm only going to be using the Opus model of how much is going to use while we're using this, right? So keep in mind, I'm at 0%. I have 25% left for the week, which again is just so stupido. But all right, let's keep going. And then for the Sonnet models, I'm at 8%. Now you can have extra usage there, but again, I wouldn't recommend it. They were just giving out some free shit. I was like, yeah, I bet if it's free for me, right? So they gave us $50 in extra free usage. So I kind of could go a little bit crazy here, but I want to be a little bit more diligent about it, right? So again, this is going to be your current session. This resets every 5 hours. Your all models, this is going to be your weekly limits. This is going to include Haiku, Opus, right? And then Sonnet, and then you're going to have your Sonnet only. So I'm going to put that back here. All right, can you explain the different plugins that you have access to? And for the duration of this sprint, make sure that all of your output responses, each one, is under 328 total tokens for each one, bro. All right, so that's the first one. So let's see what happens. What it's going to do is it's going to go find the plugins. All right, bet this is the one I have access to. All right, so plugins extend Claude Code skills with Claude Code with skills, hooks, or MCP servers. They're installed via plugins and loaded at startup. Here's a breakdown of the plugins that we have access to. We have Superpower, and I just showed you how to get that Superpower plugin. I think this is one of the most powerful ones here because it not only, I just showed you a few things, but this is everything this plugin could do. And I use this on a daily, right? This Superpower plugin. Then we have other plugins. We have the feature dev, guided feature development, front end plugin that allows you for any front end work that we need to do. I am not that great in front end. I'm more so like a Python person. I'm not going to hold you. I know that very well. But when it comes to front end development, I kind of lack a little bit. So that's when I bring in help with this front end plugin. We have our PR review, code review, Claude Code setup, and then keyboard binding help. Now, okay. Can you explain each one, how they can or work together, and make sure to do so that even a 12-year-old can get this? Do not speak down to us or be demeaning. Make sure you get this point across so we get how to properly use it. Right, so I just sent 2 messages. So with those 2 messages, so you can see here, session, I told you resets every 5 hours. Right now it's at 456. It's still at 0, right? So that's what's up. So those 2 messages didn't cost us that much. That's why, because I'm capping it at 328 total tokens, right? I'm not new to this. I'm a little true to this, right? And then the model's not work. It's still at 25, still at 8. So let's see how well this works. All right, so think of the skills like a team building with tree. Excuse me. Think of these skills like a team building a tree house together. Each person has a job and they work in order. We have brainstorming, the idea phase. What should the tree house look like? You talk it out before grabbing a hammer. We have the writing plans, drawing the blueprint step by step. This is all just superpower. What you can do within superpower, right? You have executing plans following the blueprint. Then we have test driven development that's going to take those plans and then write a test first, right? What should work. Then we're going to build on top of that and make sure it passes the checklist. Then we have systematic debugging. If something broke, don't just randomly change stuff. Investigate like a detective, find the real cause first. We have dispatching multiple agents at the same time. Two independent jobs, send two helpers to work at the same time instead of one at a time. We have sub agent driven development, same idea, but executing a whole plan step by step in parallel. So we're going to be using sub agent development and dispatching multiple agents during the session. I think that's going to be kind of cool. Verification, we have code review, Git, work trees, and we have finishing a branch, right? So brainstorm, write a plan, TTD, execute the plan, debug if it's broken, verify, code review, and then finish the branch. All right. So we are new at using Claude Code. What are 3 things that we can do to maximize using this system? All right, so we're going to have it output. Let's see if we have a change here. All right, always start with brainstorming. When you want to build something, don't just say, "Hey, build X." Say, "I want to build X. Let's brainstorm," and let the brainstorming skills kick in. This forces you to think through what you actually want before any code gets written. Saves a ton of wasted time. Use plans before jumping into the code. For anything beyond a tiny fix, ask me to make a plan first. I'll explore your code base, understand what exists, then propose steps for your approval. You stay in control and we avoid building the wrong things. For an example, plan how to add a user login to my app. Super dope. Then let's start with verification, close of every task. Before accepting any work as done, ask me to verify it. I'll run tests, check for errors, and show the proof. This catches the bugs before they become your problem. Simple loop, I want to start, and then we brainstorm, let's plan, let's build it, and verify. All right, beautiful. So what we're going to do is build or create something, a super simple conversational RAG agent. Now, this is something that I've built when I was first starting to be able to learn how to code, right? And then I started with W3 schools. In addition to that, I took a couple of boot camps. One of those boot camps went through being able to build a conversational RAG agent. So we're going to make this super simple. We're going to explain what the conversational RAG agent does and what a RAG agent is, right? So think of an AI agent, right? An AI agent like your ChatGPTs or even your Claudes or even your Geminis, right? And put a database on top and set that on top of a database, right? And whenever it wants to make a response, it checks the database for the information. Then it generates a response based off that information. So it's making sure that we're having responses that are fact driven. So we're going to be building a super simple conversational RAG agent using Claude Code. Already have everything we need in our .m file. Remember, you do not share your .m file. This has all your API keys and security information you're going to need. So we're not sharing that. But what we're going to do is grab the, I should have had this ready. My fault. Conversational. And I'm going to grab the file. Beautiful. Conversational RAG. And I'm going to paste it here. Don't worry, you're going to be able to see this. So this is what we want to rebuild. Review to get an understanding. Let's brainstorm before we plan and explain this within the same guidelines we have for this sprint. Use terminal commands to review these docs, then, or these files, excuse me, then advise how we can recreate it here. All right, beautiful. So you see, we're at 1%, right? So I'm going to keep this to your attention so you can see how this works, right? Because I want you to be able to get into the habit of like keep making sure you're keeping up with your usage, right? So we're at 1%, and we're not even that much into it, so that's okay. Interesting, the folder has an empty in it. It's returned. There's content in it. Oh, snap, cracker, and pop, bruv. That's what happens sometimes. That's what happens sometimes, bruv. 2 seconds. I forgot to. We actually need the files. All right, try again. Try again. I told you about those blunders. Now we're talking. Let me read the key files. And it's going to break down what a conversational RAG is, what we're going to be doing, how we're going to be doing it. All right, beautiful. So what it is a chatbot that can answer questions about a specific text file by looking at the stuff, and that text file is going to be in a RAG and not just guessing. That is RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, right? It teaches 3 levels. The basic RAG, load the text, split it into chunks, store it in a vector, right? So I'm talking about the RAG process right here, right? So the RAG process is to be able to load the text. After we load the text, we need to be able to split it into chunks, right? Once we split it into chunks, we need to store those chunks. Another thing that needs to happen is you need to convert these chunks into embeddings, right? Once you convert the chunks into embeddings, so that's going from text to numerical, so binary zeros and ones, right? You convert them to embeddings and then you store them into a vector DB. Then you can ask questions. Problem, it has no memory of previous questions, right? History aware RAG, we add chat history. So when we ask a question like, what was my last question? It can actually know and it rewrites your question to be a standalone before searching. And then session manage RAG, it wraps everything in a session ID. So multiple users can have separate conversations. Questions for brainstorming. The original uses OpenAI plus LangChain. We are Claude Code focused masterclass. Nope. So we are going to continue to use OpenAI plus LangChain. Can you explain both? Can you explain how LangChain works and how we are going to be using it before we proceed? And what I want to go grab is the Constitution. That's going to be the document that we're going to be using for our RAG. Or better yet, I already have a document in there. So let's keep going. So LangChain is like a set of Lego blocks for AI apps. Each block does one job. You snap them together to build something bigger. That block, the block this project uses is a document loader. It reads the file, a text essay, then it turns it into what the code can work with. A text splitter is going to be what chops the document into smaller pieces, and those smaller pieces are chunks. Why? AI models can only look at so much text at once. Smaller pieces equals much better search. Then we're going to have embeddings. We turn those chunks into embeddings. So turn each chunk into a list of numbers. A vector, words with similar meanings get similar numbers. This is how the system understands the text. Then we're going to put it into a vector store. That vector store is going to be ChromaDB. ChromaDB is a simple open source library that we're going to be using in order to store those embeddings, right? A database that stores these numbers list and then lets you search by the meaning, not the exact word. So it's like, what's this essay about? We find relevant chunks, even those with the exact words that aren't in the text. Then it's going to be the retriever. This is the search engine. You ask the question, it finds the most relevant chunks. The LLM, which is going to be the chat OpenAI. This is the brain that takes your question, retrieves the chunks, and then writes a human answer. The chain is going to be the glue. It connects the retriever, the LLM, into one pipeline. It asks one question, gets one answer, and then one call. Here's the flow. So we're going to ask a question. The retriever is going to be able to go find the relevant chunks. The relevant chunks, remember those split up text that's already in those embeddings, right? Is going to go to the LLM, which is going to be OpenAI, and then OpenAI is going to answer our question. So that's the core of what we're building. All right, perfect. All right, perfect. Now let's go to the design phase. You know what I want to do? Just a bit, bruv. All right, since we're recreating this learning project, there's three approaches. Single scripts, excuse me, 3 stages, exactly the original, one file that walks through the basic, the history, and then the session management, best for learning. So I'm liking the one file, modular. I'm liking the modular a little bit better, right? So I'm going to go modular, but then modular. So we're going to hit enter. Modular, 3 separate files, right? We got the be good text, and then we have the basic, we have the history, and then we have, okay. How can we make this a bit better? Is there open source text that we can use to practice on outside of what we have? And what I want to do is I'm thinking about just bringing in the Constitution, the US Constitution. So I'm just going to go grab that. Read full text. All right, beautiful. I found it. Beautiful. I have the Constitution. So classic public domain art of, oh, I like this one. Project Gutenberg. Matter of fact, no, I want that one. I want Project Gutenberg. Project Gutenberg is a solid pick, free, legal, no licensing worries. I suggest the Art of War. It's short, 3,000 words, structured into prompts. Okay. We want, okay, let's do the Art of War. Let's proceed. Now let's design and advise how this is going to work. Have the API keys needed here. We are live. Beautiful. Do not, I repeat, do not share any keys over the chat or expose them when running terminal commands. Now advise before we continue. So we're going to be building a conversational RAG app, right? Conversational RAG app using Claude Code. And what is a conversational RAG app, right? Being able to create an AI, right, that can be able to answer questions on the art of war, right? We're going to be getting this from Project Gutenberg. We're going to be having a basic RAG app that loads, split, and embeds in queries. Then we're going to have a history RAG app that can have the chat session aware. And then we're going to have the multiple session RAG app. So we're going to be creating 3 files in order to do this. The project toml, I mean, yeah, we can have it, but that's kind of OD. So let's go. So here's the flow. We're going to load the Art of War, chunk it, store it into ChromaDB, and ask questions like, what does Sun Tzu say about strategy? Get an answer, then ask, what was my last question? Matter of fact, let's see. Can you get the 4 agreements? Is that available in Project Gutenberg? Or is I'm not gonna hold you. Oh, that's what it's called. Think and Grow Rich, or Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If I can have different levels of this. So let's see. If I can get the 4 agreements, that'll be dope. Please can get the 4 agreements. And this is how you can like call a quick little audible, right? Still under copyright, not in Gutenberg. Think and Grow Rich, available freely on the internet, archives, and other sources. Not officially on Gutenberg either, but it's in a public domain territory. For live streaming, let's start with A Man Thinketh. As a Man Thinketh, he does it. I like that. Let's do As a Man Thinketh. I'm going to do As a Man Thinketh. As a Man Thinketh is what we're going to slide with. As a Man Thinketh, great pick, short, powerful, and self-improvement. Vibes fit perfectly. Okay. All right. Proceed. So now it's loading its skill. It's writing the plan. So what it's doing, it's going into Project Gutenberg and finding As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, the plain text. And I could have stayed with Sun Tzu Art of War too. Good. The book is Project Gutenberg 4507. Now let me write a plan. Now it's going to create a folder, right? And it's going to create a folder and master. Okay. Wait. Matter of fact, just create it. Create the folder you need in this path. So we can have a separate, so I can just keep that project one separate. Okay, plans. Then we're going to have the plans. Then it's going to create the plans. Now it's going to write the plan. Since we're just vibey right now. Gonna be a little vibey right now. So as it's doing that, as you can see, we went up to 3%. It's at 26% right now. So we're keeping mindful of this, right? So we can see how much we use during this little sprint here that we're doing. And this is one of the great things that I love about this. Okay, here we go. I didn't have to talk as much. I appreciate you, bro. Let's go look at that plan. So rebuild the conversational RAG as 3 modular files using As a Man Thinketh from Project Gutenberg. Each file is going to be self-contained and runnable. Stage 1 shows the basic RAG, no memory. Stage 2 is going to add the session aware, right? And then stage 3 is going to add the session management. So we are building, the lack of better words, the most simplest AI agent, right? And each step we're going to be getting a little bit more complex. So we're going to be using Python, and this is going to be the main language that most AI agents, most AI is written on. Then we're going to be using LangChain. LangChain is going to be the framework, right, in order to be able to make this a bit better. Then OpenAI is going to be the LLM that we're going to be using. ChromaDB is going to be the vector DB. And then .env Python is how we can keep our security information secret. Right, task 1, this is what we're going to do, be able, in order to create the files that we need. Step 1, and then step 2, download As a Man Thinketh. Task 2, okay, so this looks quite comprehensive, bruv. Right, and actually showed little snippets on how the code is going to look. So as you can see, we're bringing in the libraries from LangChain specifically, but we're bringing in Chat OpenAI. Then we're bringing in what we need in order to retrieve the items from the documents, right? So quite comprehensive here, bruv. All right, so I love it. So let's come back here. So setup, we're going to do the project Tomo that and download the book. Step 2, step 3, and then 4. 2 ways to execute. We're going to do a sub agent. I build each task one at a time, and then you review between tasks, or parallel sessions. Open one session and then batch execute with checkpoints. Which one do y'all want to try? Let's do sub agent driven. Let's proceed with sub agent driven. Now explain what this is before then jump into it. So I hope y'all are getting value from this and being able to see how I use Claude Code, how we downloaded it, and how we're going to be getting sub agent. I know I just and how we're going to be using it. Sub agent driven development explained simply. So think of me as a manager with access to workers, sub agents. Instead of doing everything myself in one long conversation, I read the task from the plan, send a fresh worker to do just one task, review their work. When they're done, move on to the next task. Why this is better? Each worker starts fresh, no confusion from the previous steps. I review between tasks, catches mistakes early. Independent tasks can run in parallel. 2 workers run at once. Your main conversation stays clean and focused. Me, the manager, we're going to send one agent, set up, then review. Send the agent to do the basic RAG. Then we're going to review. Send the agent to do the RAG with history. Then we're going to review. Send the agent to do the session RAG. Then we're going to review. All right. Sounds good. Let's get this underway. Again, we are learning this for the first time, so it would behoove of you to break down what you're doing, explain nothing, assume nothing, explain everything. That was funny. All right, beautiful. So let's get this done so we can get our conversational RAG up. And then maybe we're going to bring in Streamlit so we can have this. Okay, here we go. So here's what's about to happen. I'm the manager. We're going to send 4 tasks. Then send a worker, sub agent with clear instructions. Review their work. Does it match the plan? Is the code clean? Explain what happens. All right, set up tracking and kick off task 1. Task 1, insight. Task 1 is the setup. Before AI codes run, we need a config file, tells Python which libraries to install and the actual test to learn from. Okay, I was talking too much and it's doing it. Beautiful. So now it's setting up the project. All right, beautiful project. Okay. Wait, homie. Set up. Wait, fucker. Set up the project and the main path. Got it. Now. Got it. Now. Let's proceed. All right, now it's doing task 1. Beautiful. There we go. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Then we're going to have the init file. Then we're going to have, you're creating the data. Right, we're going to download As a Man Thinketh from Project Gutenberg. Here's As a Man Thinketh. Oh, look how beautiful that is. How many? That is 1,300 lines of code. Okay, just make sure. If you discover a defect in this electronic work within 90 days of receiving it, you can receive a, okay, what the fuck? Circumstances, however, are so complicated. Thought it so deeply rooted, and the conditions of happiness vary so. vastly with individuals, that a man's entire soul conditions, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged. Okay, just what I was reading. Cannot be judged by another from the external aspects of life alone. A man, a man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privatization. A man may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth. But the conclusions usually form that one man fails because of their particular honesty, and yet the other prospers because of their particular dishonesty. This is a result of the superficial judgment, which assumes that one dishonest man is almost totally corrupt and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. All right, so I'm going to stop reading. So that's a nice little excerpt. Oh, snap, snap, snap. Wait, before you continue, let me go review your work real quick. What we need to do real quick as well is I need to bring in a Conda environment that has all the libraries that we're going to need. I'm going to bring in Algo, baby. I'm pretty sure it, you know what would have been better is Sona. Let me bring in Sona. Sona, that'll be better. And then let's run our basic rag. Oh. So that means we just need to pip install it. Give me 1 second. Pip install. Whoa. Hold on. What is the issue here? Oh, I did it wrong. Run this instead. Okay. Okay. Wait, still missing a few. And this is part of the process, bruv. It's one of the things we're gonna work out. Okay, let me check what's installed. So we have everything we need there, bro. So I don't know why it's not working. LangChain recently organized, and that's okay. Moved from LangChain to LangChain Retrievables API. Moved their stuff. Okay, with a new update. Let's check if LangChain Retrievables is there. Use Python, not Python 3 to check. Notice that Python 3 sometimes give a bit of an issue. Isn't active in my terminal. Do you want to run it? So what we're going to do, activate it, then check. Uninstalling, reinstalling it. Here we go. Oh, we got to get rid of the cache. That's what it is. Okay, so here we go. We just need to update a few things. That's how quick something can break, fam. I did this last year, April. No problem, bro. Fixed the issue. Okay, let's see. Let's try running it again. It's not like you're keeping the people waiting or anything. Question one. Okay. John Allen emphasized the power of thought by stating the mind is the master power that molds and makes the man is mine. He suggests, okay, instead of doing that, okay, I noticed something. We want to be the ones asking the questions and make sure that this can go back and forth without issue as we progress. Let's update. We want to be able to ask it in the terminal when we run it. So a couple of modifications that we have to do, yeah? Good call. Let me make it interactive. You type the questions, it answers a back and forth in the terminal. Beautiful. I would appreciate if you did that. All right, it was updated. Now let's go run it. Okay, while you're doing that. RAG, okay. What is this book about? This book, As a Man Thinketh, emphasizes the power of one's thoughts in shaping their life and character. It discusses the importance of self-control, right thinking, and calmness in achieving one's ideals and happiness. The authors highlights how the thoughts influences the actions and outcomes in life, urges readers to take control of their thinkings to achieve their desired goal. That's what's up. How many pages are in this book? I don't know how many pages are in this book. What is what is 2 quotes from this book and must not be the same? The tempest tossed soul, whatever ye may be, under whatever conditions ye may live. Know this in the ocean of life. The isles of the blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shores of your ideals await your coming. On the face of the age, there are wrinkles made by sympathy. Others may be strong, pure thought, and others are carved by the passions. Who cannot distinguish them? While with those who have lived righteously, age is calm, peaceful, and softly mellowed, like the setting sun. What was my first question? I don't know the answer to that. Bye. All right. So now let's update this so we can actually get the session rag, the history one, and then, all right, proceed. I'm going to have it create the session rag after. Then once it creates the session rag, then I'm going to run the history run and then the session one, and then have it go, and then we can see the actual difference from it. So by the end of this video, you would have seen how to install Claude Code, how to be able to use these different skill sets within it. And I've just been doing something super simple, right? So as you can see, it is just a conversation with AI. And as long as you're comfortable with being able to do that, you're Guwapiter, bro. All right, path, Python run. My name is Yellow. Remember. All right, my name is Kreative. What is the main point of this book? The main point of this book, As a Man Thinketh, is that the person's thoughts and mindsets has a powerful influence on their life and circumstances. All right, bet. What is the sentiment? How does the book begin? The book As a Man Thinketh begins with an aphorism. As a man thinketh is the heart, so is he, which highlights the importance of thoughts in shaping one's character and life. The author, James Allen, conveys the message that a person's thoughts are the foundations of their being and influence every aspect of their existence. This opening sets the tone for the book's exploration of power of thoughts and determining one's circumstances and achievements. What is my name? I'm sorry, I don't have access to that, your personal information. Okay. What was my first question? Your first question was, my name is Create. Okay, then it should have gotten it right. Review, and we noticed that it is not working all the way. Let's fix it. We asked it, what is my name, after providing, but didn't have context of it. All right, so we can close this one out. Let's go ahead and see what you're going to do here. Good catch. The system remembers your question and it answers it, but it doesn't treat the personal context. You said, my name is Creatives, and it answered about the book and moved on. The name was in the history, but the retriever searched for the book for name and found nothing useful. Let me fix the system prompt to tell the AI to pay close attention to what the user shares about themselves in the conversation, not just the book. All right. Beautiful, beautiful. Now let's go ahead and run this again. My name is Creative. Tell me 2 things about this book. Keep your responses short and sweet. This book is focused on power of thoughts and impacts they have on one's life. It emphasizes the importance of self-control, rights, and calmness. And okay, how does it? How does the author discuss self-control? The author discusses self-control as essential for achieving one's purpose and maintaining the focus of that goal. He emphasizes that true success is measured by the strength of character gained through self-control and concentration of that thought. The book suggests that self-control is a source of strength. Mastery of thought leads to success, and calmness that equates to power. What is my name? Haha! Look at that, it worked. What was my second question? Your second question was, tell me about how the author discusses self-control in this book. Okay. What is the author's name? The author's name is not explicitly mentioned in the provided text. Okay. What does the author say about calmness? Okay, what is my name? The author describes calmness as a beautiful jewel of wisdom resulting from self-control and not ripe in the experience. Calmness is portrayed as the indication of deep knowledge of the laws of thought and sincere quality that leads to success, influence, and the power of good. All right, bet. I love it. So let's go ahead and go to part 3. All right, session manager as a man thinketh remembers the session for history, types the name, Kreative. I can't spell creative. There we go. The power, okay, using one. The power of creativity and vision drives individuals to achieve greatness and contribute to the world. By holding on to ideals and dreams, one can overcome challenges and transform their circumstances. The ability to turn thoughts into actions and maintain a fearless mindset is key to achieving success and making a lasting impact. What is the author say about peace? The author emphasizes the value of peace and tranquility as essential qualities that lead to a serene and balanced life. He describes a serene life as being more precious than material wealth, highlighting the significance of inner calmness and poise. The text conveys that self control, right thought, and calmness are the source of strength and power in navigating life challenging thoughts. What is my name? I don't have access to your name. Okay. My name is Kreative. What does the author say about womanhood? The author describes the impact of dispositions in one's appearance, contrasting the effects on the sun's disposition and discontent on individuals. He illustrates how sweet and what the fuck? Bruv, I think that's wrong. What is my name? Your name is Kreative. There we go. All right, well, there you go. There we have it, folks. We were able to go over and create 3 different type of RAG applications. We're able to download Claude Code, being able to go through how to use it, being able to install different plugins. I don't want to make this video too long. I am going to be dropping a part 2 of this where we're going to be comparing Claude Code and Codex, right? So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. It is your boy Kreative. I'll be back at it again with another episode.